Hey, Sam here with Kerygma Ventures. So excited to welcome you back to another episode of Conversations at the Ranch with Dudley Hall. On this week's episode, Dudley sits down with his daughter Karis, and they talk about some of Dudley's past experience in ministry, times whenever he's maybe changed his mind about an important topic or experienced some unique revelation from God that resulted in him thinking different about something than maybe how he had thought about it before. I think you'll enjoy their conversation today. Hey, if you do enjoy it, don't forget to like this video, share it with somebody who you think would be blessed by it, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. Thanks for watching.
You know, I find myself a lot of times trying to prevent bad things from happening. Like, I believe in forgiveness and I believe in God's sovereignty, but I don't know how to apply it. So let's just not let anything bad happen, you know? I do. I find myself like, no, I want to prevent this from happening. If I see something that's happening, why wouldn't I stop it from happening?
Yeah.
But as you're talking about Jesus knowing what's coming, he knew he was going to betray him. He knew, you know, but he didn't say, Judas, he didn't stop it. He didn't stop it. He did not stop the bad from happening because he knew that it was actually good that was happening.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he knew it was the Father's plan. I need to just write like knowing on my forehead or on my mirror or somewhere else. See it all the time. That's so good. Knowing. Yeah. And that goes even back to what we talked about with Paul, right? Is hearing God, seeing, knowing the will of God. If we will just remind ourselves, we can relax in our responsibilities because they're joys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the story in Paul's journeys where he's about to go to Jerusalem, and a prophet in the church there says, Agabus stands up and does this little, ties himself up and says, okay, whoever goes to Jerusalem, you're going to be tied up like this and you're going to put in prison. And so their conclusion was, don't go, Paul.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know, I mean, like you said, let's prevent this from happening.
Right. This is not going to end well.
Yes, like, so don't do it. The reason I got this prophetic word was to prevent you from going. And Paul went, you're breaking my heart with all this drama. Do you not know that's what I was called to do? And that when I go, my being there is going to be a judgment line that's there. And it's going to show those who hear the gospel and those who don't hear the gospel. And that's absolutely essential for us to get the thing done. So I'm ready to go, and I'm ready to go to prison, and I'm ready to die. It doesn't really matter to me.
I'm not scared of any of it.
Yeah. So
it's so good. It's such a good picture. Okay, because I've been around a while in your ministry, we talked about the name change. I can also say that the sermons that you're preaching are different. The message has a new revelation to it. So I want to talk about some of the maybe perspective changes or directions that you have taken a new direction. So I guess what I'm asking is, were there moments where you had a Paul experience where there was a light or there was a revelation or maybe a tangible presence where it's like, I know this is God. I feel it. I know, and it points you in a different direction.
Yeah, there have been those intersectional moments, you know,
that's a good way to put it. Yeah,
you know, change your direction and whatever. You know, one of them was when I was in college, and my sermons basically were more about discipline, dedication, because I was playing football, and that was my world. And so you got to be disciplined, you got to be dedicated, you got to be a team worker, you know. So I just preached that, and kids responded to it well, but it wasn't the gospel.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I got hurt, and therefore I was in the hospital for a long time. And when I came, I was unconscious actually for a while. When I came to, I was aware of the presence of the Lord in a new way for me. You know, it's like, I remember thinking, I think Jesus is in here, and I'm afraid to open my eyes. I might see him. And I knew enough about the scripture. You know, if you see God, you die.
Yeah.
You know, so no, I don't want to see him.
Am I dead?
Am I dead? And Anyway, I just remember that going through my mind was apologies, like, God, I'm sorry. You know, I won't be able to use athletics as a platform to witness for you, you know, so I'm sorry. I won't be able to do all those things I dreamed about and promised you I'd do. And there was an awareness that he was talking to me, and I heard this concept. I didn't hear any words, but I heard this reality. You don't have to do anything. I've done everything. I love you just like you are, and if you never get out of here, you never change, I won't stop loving you, and I won't love you anymore, I won't love you any less. Something of that.
Yeah.
And I remember I didn't understand that, but I was like, that felt really good. And I remember thinking, I hope that's the real Jesus, because that's the one I want to know. Because the one I had kind of known was the Jesus who, yeah, he died for me and he'd given me a ticket to heaven and all of that, but he was also the one who was kind of judging me and giving me tests. And some days he was not as pleased as others, and oftentimes I was afraid to go to him. I was afraid he's going to go, you are so disappointing.
Yeah.
You know, so that was
kind of that mentality of like, yeah, he saved me, but now I have to.
Yeah.
Now it's my job to be good because he saved me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that was a major turning point in my life. Now, I didn't work out all the details of that for years, but it never left me.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying the conversation today. There's something special I want to invite you to be a part of. It's called Dudley's Weekly Word. Dudley's Weekly Word is our weekly email series that we drop in your inbox if you subscribe every Friday. This is Dudley's quick take on current events, different theological ideas, an inspirational message or devotional just to encourage you, educate you, and really bring into focus all that we're trying to convey here at Kerygma Ventures that is essentially the good news of the gospel. I think you'd really enjoy it. You can subscribe to this weekly email by just clicking the button right here on the screen. Hey, we can't wait to get these messages to you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conversation.
And we go back to something we talked about at another time earlier, that tuning fork deal.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, when I was reading scripture or hearing a sermon or whatever, I would hear that same voice that I heard in that hospital room that said, I love you unconditionally, and there's nothing you can do to make me stop. And I remember the life that came into my bosom when he said that, and I would hear that. I'd hear a little echo of that, and it's like, that's good. So I would find myself headed toward that. And I remember I had read a book in college by Roy Hession called The Calvary Road. And he was he was in his 80s at that time when I was in college, and Anglican, had been a part of the East African revival. And every time I hear him preach, I'd hear that tuning fork go off. And so after I moved to Texas to go to seminary, he was going to be in a town nearby, and I went. And I just sat there, and I felt like I was taking a bath all night. I felt like somebody was giving me intravenous life. And so I went up to him later and said, you don't know me and whatever, but is there any way I can serve you, because I'd like to hang around? And he invited me to be a part of his life. And he became a great mentor to me simply because every time I heard him, I heard an announcement. I heard an announcement of who God was and what God had done. And every time I heard that, I wanted more of it. So it gradually, not immediately, it gradually changed my preaching.
Yeah.
It's like, if I like to hear it and when somebody else does, maybe somebody else would like to hear it, so I'll do it.
Yeah.
So I started saying, let's just preach the gospel. Let's make an announcement. Let's don't put so much pressure on people to get to the altar and to change your behavior tonight. What about seeing what God has done and see if that doesn't change you? So that was one of many. And then, as you know, since you've been around the whole time, there have been many changes that would happen. We'd be going in a direction, and all of a sudden God would do something, and we go in another direction.
Yeah.
And we planted some churches back in the 80s that I never thought we would do, but we did, and that was a different direction. But the the thing that keeps you going are not those just once in a while intersectional words, but it's that daily hearing that voice and feeling that tuning fork go off.
Yeah.
And I tell people, if you read the scripture and it doesn't make your heart burn, read it again.
Yeah.
Because you just read it. You didn't get it.
And so many of us do that, right?
Yeah, I've done it. So
I just gotta get my reading done today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you read it and Jesus, the living word, is what you encounter, then nobody's going to have to tell you to do it tomorrow. Just like nobody has to remind me I should eat breakfast. I mean,
Right.
I kind of want to.
Right.
So nobody has to remind me I need to read the scripture. It's like, why wouldn't I? It's like eating ice cream.
Right. There's life in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say the preparation for those intersectional moments that happen periodically is the daily moments of tuning into that voice,
Yeah.
tuning in to hearing and responding to it. And have I missed it? Yes, ma'am. Many times thinking I had heard. But if you'll be patient, the Lord will show you why that's not it.
Yeah. It comes back around.
Yeah.
It's a good point, the daily thing versus the big, we talk about mountaintops experiences and valleys and stuff, but most of the time it's more mid-level, right? Most of the time it's not a mountaintop experience or a valley. It's just a Tuesday. I'm just a regular old day. I'm in the middle of the mountain. That's kind of where we live. But it's good, right? Because you can't live on the mountaintop all the time. There's not enough air up there.
Right.
And you don't want to be in the valley all of the time. And if you're always just doing the intersectionals, to use your word, you're maybe not going so far, but it's the daily learning to hear and reading the scripture and getting the life and the announcement over and over and over and hearing that to be able to daily function, so that if you have a big intersectional or a big change that you need to make, you're confident in knowing, no, that was him. I know that was him because I hear him every day.
Right.
I know that was him, and I can take this step of faith because the tuning fork went off. It's the same voice. It's the same, so that's really good. I think we tend to look for the mountaintop experiences, or we want that tangible, tangible presence. I remember Fowler asked me one time, Mom, have you ever been in I think he said church service, but have you ever been in a service where you tangibly felt God's presence? And I said, yeah, buddy, I have. And he said, oh, I want that so bad. And I said, well, let's ask the Lord for it. Let's ask for, the Lord for you to feel that. And I said, but you hear the Lord all the time. It's not just in service. It's not just, and so kind of trying to focus him on him in that direction too. But I do think we long for those, like, I felt him, when you were talking about even being in the hospital bed of like, he's in the room with me, just that kind of like that knowing and hearing that you're loved regardless. I think that's the tangible thing that we all want, right? It's just knowing that you're loved regardless. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you have to do. But whether it's tangible or whether it's daily, just learning to hear that voice.
Yeah, he is no more present in those moments than he was 5 minutes earlier. It's just that you're aware
That's
of
a
his
good
presence.
point, yeah.
In
Because he's
fact,
always present. He's always with us.
he's always there.
Never leaves us, yeah.
Yeah, and but there are those moments where it's almost like he kind of pulls back the scales and lets you see what's been going on the whole time, but you were not as aware of it.
That's so good.
And of course, we all, it's like, Lord, make me more aware. And that's why Paul prayed for the people in Ephesians, like, open the eyes of their heart that they may see how much you love them, how deep and wide and it is your love for them is, and let that inner man come forward. So, that's what growth is.
That's so good. That needs to be our prayer. Open our eyes and let us see. Yeah, that's good.